Leave it to me. Hello there everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another edition of Pitch Fight. As you can tell from Vanessa being here with me today.
Hi.
Okay, last episode we talked about a hypothetical sequel to the Simpsons movie. This episode, instead of providing an idea for a sequel, this is less of a pitch fight and more of a how we would have done something. In this episode, the idea, we're going to pitch how we would have made the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those highly influential and beloved horror franchises of all time. It's made a ton of movies. It basically started New Line Cinema, which would later go on to make the Lord of the Rings movies. It's synonymous with pop culture. And in 2010, there was this remake, and it was bad.
It was.
Yeah. Now, the idea of this episode is we're not going to do anything like... Bless you.
Thanks.
We're not going to do anything radically different from the original. Instead, the idea is more like, let's say either of us time traveled back naked to Hollywood in 2010, and due to temporal flux, we accidentally killed the original director of the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Michael Bay was like, shit, this movie still needs to be made. Then he sees either of us naked and is like, you there, naked fellows. You're in charge of this remake now. What you got? And that's the premise. It's not... Because if it was what we would do with the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I think it'd be... Okay, if it was really up to me, I'd do an animated horror movie based on a Nightmare on Elm Street, but we're not doing that. It's more like you take the remake...
And put your own ideas what actually going to happen.
It's like, how would you make this work? The movie that you already have, you've got this... You have to work with the same cast, the same script, the same budget. Like you can probably make a few changes to the script. You have access to all of the previous production details, but you largely can't make something totally new. So that's what we're working with. And because I started last time, I think Vanessa has to start this time.
Yeah.
So what you got, Vanessa?
Okay. My idea for Nightmare on Elm Street it's gonna be good. Hopefully it's good. The first scene will be fix of the CGI. The CGI was totally terrible.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
On Elm Street.
I'm gonna have more to say about that when it's my turn, but oh god, yes, the fucking CGI.
Yes, that was terrible. And the second one will be trauma happens at daycare instead of a preschool.
Okay, yeah.
That would be a good one.
Mhm.
And the third scene will be scene where Nancy's closet turns into Freddy. That'd be so epic. Freddy comes to the closet, not a fuss, scratch on the door, comes up, epic. And the title screen, when Freddy breaks the fourth wall, when he comes in, the title screen open, it's a Freddy Kruger beat.
Okay, that does sound pretty cool.
It is. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Behind bookends of the movie and the front of the movie, like the title. That'd be creepy, but it's like amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did in the original movie.
Yeah, did I?
Yeah, not really, because the movie started with what was her name? Julie? I don't remember, but she getting chased by Freddy Krueger. Then the next scene, you had the 1, 2, 3, coming for you. Right, go on.
My subplot of Nancy maybe getting institutionalized. Stay, yeah, that'd be amazing. They won't even come black. Everyone might be amazing. Seeing the family should be more darker and more edgier. Has to be like where they can't find the pills, like there's Freddy with the only hand strips like this, strips with blood on his butternut fingers, and caught up to the pharmacy for the pills and fucking. That's amazing.
Yeah. What else you got?
And keep the flashbacks, so this backstory.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Is that everything?
Yeah, it's about yours.
Okay, my idea is... Okay, before I tell you exactly what my idea is, I'm just going to talk about some production details from the original Nightmare on Elm Street that I kind of just know. Okay, the idea for Nightmare on Elm Street was kind of birthed from these cases where Southeast Asian refugees who would like die in their sleep, and that was one part. Another part is that Freddy Krueger. I think most people know this now, but he was originally envisioned in the original Wes Craven movie as a child molester, but right around the movie, when the movie was being made, they changed him to a child murderer because they didn't want to get accused of sensationalizing. Okay. Unfortunately, during the making of the movie, there were actual cases of child molestation, and Craven and the producers didn't want to get accused of sensationalizing that. And I think everybody knows that. In the remake, they actually did change Freddy into a child molester.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, well... Okay, now, here's another thing that you... Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to that, but... Okay, first off, like, we're not going to use any CGI in this movie. No CGI at all. It's all going to be in camera, just like in the original movie. Because, oh my god, like... Remember how they tried to recreate that, like...
Yeah, the war scene.
Yeah, like, that was... Yes. It was so awful in the remake. It looked like something out of a PlayStation 2 video game.
Or PlayStation 1.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
God. I mean, it actually physically hurt me.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, okay, second of all, we are not going to recreate any of the scares from the original. None of that. We're going to do our own thing. Like, Vanessa said something about Freddy Krueger like, a closet transforms into Freddy Krueger. I don't know how you do that without CGI, but, we'd figure it out, because if you can do that without CGI, I think that'd be really awesome. Okay, something else. Okay, now, here's some things that we actually keep from the remake. First off, I'd like to keep the way the movie ends with Freddy Krueger killing Nancy's mother through the mirror and pulling her back into the mirror.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, it was an effective scene. And so I think that's a fine thing to keep. Another thing that we keep, Jackie L. Haley as Freddy Krueger. Nobody can replace Robert Englund, but Jackie L. Haley, he tried his best in that movie, and Jackie L. Haley is a legit great actor. Like, Rorschach from Watchmen, anyone? And anyway, okay, now, let's go back to, here's the main thing that I would change. Because Freddy Krueger was a child molester in the remake, they had this kind of ongoing thing of, like, was Freddy innocent? Well, in the original script for the remake, Freddy Krueger was actually innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, when I found that out, why the hell did they change that? If you're going to, like you should have kept that. Like, invert the original setup. Yeah, invert the original setup. Play with those with that kind of righteous anger. Criticize mob justice or mob outrage, and and you know, like, maybe make Freddy sympathetic.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that.
Well, I think that's what they should have done.
Yes.
However, I do admit one difficult part about that would be that, okay, Freddy Krueger was innocent. Why did the kids say that Freddy molested? The bad part about that is that it kind of insinuates that the kids were lying for some reason. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. I don't know. So here's what I would do. Freddy Krueger was innocent, but there was still a child molester somewhere. We don't know who it was. Doesn't matter. Maybe it's like the person running the preschool. Maybe somebody else.
Yeah.
And you know, because the kids are young and they make mistakes, they accidentally point the finger to Freddy, who was innocent. And like, as the kids realize that Freddy is innocent, they realize, oh no, this is the person who actually like did it. And so while it's clear that Freddy is the good guy, there's still somebody that for the audience to project their anger and hatred onto. And maybe it can end, or you know, this could be right before the ending, where Freddy, who he kind of becomes the hero and he can kill the actual child molester.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it does. However, the studio would probably want sequels.
Yeah.
You know, if this whole nonsense would actually work. And you probably have to still keep Freddy as the villain. So here's how I would do that. The remaining kids, or maybe just Nancy, whatever, they apologize to Freddy from the bottom of their hearts for what they did to them. But Freddy, being like bitter, to solidify an evil turn for Freddy, he says something like, "Fuck you, bitch. You took my life from me. I gave you everything." And he ends with him saying that he will never forgive them and he'll kill them all. So you can still have Freddy as the bad guy.
Yeah.
Or he can become a bad guy.
That I like.
And because Freddy, even though he's still a bad guy in this movie, we see that he's not the baddest guy. Because he's, you know, revenge, you know, that's understandable even if it's not good. And another thing about these slasher villains is that, you know, they kind of become the hero of their franchise. So with Freddy, he can slowly become an actual hero. Like, it's like, can you imagine Freddy Krueger as a superhero?
Yeah,
think about how bizarre that would be.
It would be.
Yeah, but maybe it can work.
It could.
Maybe it can actually work. So
it could.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my idea that's how I would have done the remake for Nightmare on Elm Street. What do you think?
It was good. I like yours.
Thank you.
I like yours.
Yeah, yours had some good ideas in it, and I think it also could have done well.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so as you can see, we didn't have Dexter with us this episode.
No.
We couldn't find a seat for him. Well, maybe just give me a minute. I'll get Dexter. Hey, here he is. Say hello, Dexter. Okay. Sorry about the Dexter. What's your idea for a Nightmare on Elm Street remake? You must owe a fortune to the swear jar. Well, thanks for watching. Be sure to come back for more pitch fights between me and Vanessa.
Yes.
And, you know, Dexter, he'll say something when he feels like it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.